Hi. So for those of you who don't know, I teach third grade. So a lot of my videos that I do and tutorials are aimed more towards elementary age. With that said, I've put together a few quick tips for people who are going to be setting up learning stations or learning centers within their home or within a different location than school for virtual learning in the fall. And I've talked with a few people and we've come up with some ideas, and I wanted to share them with you in hopes that it helps. So let's go ahead and get started. To create a learning space at home, you first want to think about location. I've put together some slides to help you understand a little bit. The most important thing about the whole experience is going to be consistency. You want a consistent schedule, you want consistent work expectations, you want the location, if possible, of where your child works to be consistent. It should be in a public space. I know that's not always an option. We're just trying to get students out of their bedroom for privacy purposes. Just consider that classmates and teachers can see what's behind your child, and they can also hear what is going on in the room around them. So that is just something to keep in mind. You want the space to be really dedicated to learning. It's hard to do work on your bed because we associate that place with sleeping. So you want to find a space that they are going to sit, that they know when they sit there, they're working on their schoolwork. It should be free from distractions, and if possible, headphones are great. Not only do they stop your child from hearing other distractions, but it helps them to hear what's going on in the class better. A lot of headphones come with a little microphone piece that sometimes just hangs on the string, and that's also helpful for students on the other end to be able to hear that child if it is a little bit more noisy. And another important thing that people don't consider often is that the chair is very important. The child needs to have their feet on the floor. Otherwise, there is a lot of psychology that goes into it, but it just sets you up for better learning. And try to have the device on a surface. I know lots of children in the spring were holding devices, and just the wobble or on materials can cause a lot of different sounds and feedback on different devices. So try to have the computer or the iPad or whatever device you're using sitting down on a flat surface during that time. At the end, I'm going to show you a few setups, a few examples that I've seen and really thought were nice. And a lot of people use tri-fold boards. So they're the bigger boards that fold in, and you can get them at any craft store or a school supply store, office supplies. And what they do is they use that almost as a little office to block out distractions, to hang up different visuals. So that's always something to consider if you have a home space that's kind of busier. The next thing you want to consider is what materials your child will need. So paper, pencils, notebooks, the obvious. Some schools are sending home different manipulatives for math or reading supports. So just making sure that those supplies are not only organized, but in a place where the child can reach those materials without leaving the meeting, without leaving the screen. There are so many different containers and organizers at the Dollar Tree. So if you're looking for some ideas, you can always go there. I get a lot of my baskets and containers there. You're also going to want to make sure that any login information for Google, for any websites or applications is easily accessible for the child as well, so they don't have any delays with login errors. Management is a bit trickier, and this is going to depend on what you're comfortable with since you know your child best. I've been helping my brother and sister-in-law with their children, so I'm going to share a few different ideas that we worked on together, and you'll just take what you can do. You know your child, you know what motivates them, and keep all of those things in mind. So the first and foremost thing is that you want to have a visible schedule that's easy to read and clear. Anytime the child needs to be doing something, it should be on the schedule. For example, if there is math lesson and then there are small groups, you should have the time for the lesson and the time for the small group, so it's very clear. I know that I've heard it's helpful if you set alarms on your iPad or whatever device you're using to remind you whenever you have to go on a video call or remind you when things are due. And the last thing you want to make sure you're doing is holding your child accountable for completing their work, for being responsible. And there are lots of different ways that you can track this. Now, I'll share some of the things that I've used. This is what I've made for my nephew, Dave. So you can see here that on the left-hand side, there are clear times. And he and I have talked that at the beginning of every single new block on his schedule, he logs into his video call. So you can see I've left gaps here, and I print this out and I post it right on the wall so he can see it. And if there's ever changes, because lots of times their small schedule, their small group schedule will change a lot depending on what they need or what they need help with. So I like to leave that blank so that they can change it as needed, so you're not crossing things out and making it messy and confusing. So this is just an example I made on Word. It's very easy. The simpler it is, the better. So moving forward, this is another item that I made for my nephew. This is to help him to stay on task and to help him to be motivated. Every Monday, or the first day of the school week, he says what he is working for. Now, his parents have decided what types of rewards they can offer. Maybe he gets to pick a movie. He can wear pajamas to school that day. He can get ice cream. Whatever it is that you agree that he's working for, I have him write that in this top box. Down here, he agrees how many stickers he needs to earn to get that reward that week. So it could be stickers, it could just be points or tallies. It doesn't have to be something tangible. But let's say, for example, he needs to get 50 stickers in a week. He and I will talk about how he can earn stickers by completing work on time, by doing lessons without needing help, by coming down dressed with his teeth brushed or making himself lunch. You can think of all sorts of ways to earn points or stickers, and then you can visibly track them right here. This is very, very motivating for students because they get to pick their own reward. And I would have a parent, or I'm having my brother, hang this up in the workspace so he can see how he's doing on his goal for the day. So just something that's important is to not discourage your child if they're having difficulty. I would reward or give stickers or points for completion of tasks and effort and seeing good positive attitude, rather than if they did their work correct. If it's incorrect and they still tried their hardest, we don't want to be punishing them. This is just a positive reinforcer. There is another option though that I'm sharing, which is a clip chart. It could be something as printing out this. If you Google clip charts or behavior clip charts, this will come up. All you do is everyone starts the day on ready for teamwork. As they do good things during the day, they can climb up their chart. As they go down, it means they're making poor choices or they're having a hard time and not handling it appropriately. So throughout the day, these clips move up and down, and then you discuss what happens if you end on outstanding, and also what happens if you lose a privilege, just as long as the students or children know exactly what happens in both directions. Now, here are just some examples. I found them on Google. I did not make them, but I wanted to share just a visual representation of what I'm talking about. You can see both of these spaces. There's room for them to write or to spread out a little bit. There's not distractions. This room on the right clearly has less distractions because it's isolated. But again, we don't always have that space. So this one on the left here has used that trifold board I was talking about and used that to create their own little office space. You can see they both have supplies really organized, some space to work. They both have dry erase, and you don't need anything fancy. And speaking of that, I found this visual also, which I did not make, which just shows you how simple it can be. Here are Dollar Tree foam boards that they've put together, which is actually what I do for my backdrop. Everything's set up with the headphones. They have the reward system ready. Their name is on it. It's personalized. So it just really sets them up for a good day. It helps them to know that they are there for school, and it helps them to be a little bit more motivated. So I hope that this was really helpful for you today. Good luck.